Welcome back to Fred Achando Analysis, ladies and gentlemen. President William Samoei Ruto has literally dragged the foreign diplomats who helped him to ascend to power into the political mud between him and Raila Amolo Odinga. I have a feeling that he has bitten more than he can chew. There are two letters that found their way into the desk of the international community. William Ruto initiated the process. He wrote a letter. This letter was meant to demonize Raila Amolo Odinga as someone who is hell-bent to subvert the will of the people and organize for a coup to oust William Samoei Ruto and get himself entrenched as the president of Kenya. Raila Amolo Odinga decided to counter these accusations and said that William Ruto is only guilty because he knows that he is illegally in power, and he maintained that he is not going to relent in his quest for electoral justice to get his rightful position. I want us to read these two letters, just the first and the last paragraph of the Ruto's letter and the first and the last paragraph of Raila Amolo Odinga's letter. We juxtapose and see what it portends to William Samoei Ruto, what it means to Raila Amolo Odinga, and the confusion and dilemma that William Ruto has brought to the international community, because they say, don't wake a sleeping dog. Let us just go straight to Raila Odinga's letter, and this is the first paragraph of Raila. Now let me begin with William Ruto's letter because he's the one who started. This is what William Ruto's letter said, and I'll be very fast because I want us to look at them. The Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs of the Republic of Kenya presents its compliments to all diplomatic missions, United Nations agencies, and international organizations based in Kenya, and has the honor to inform you as follows: that on or about 13th March 2023, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, the opposition leader, called for a nationwide protest whose central purpose included having his supporters march to the seat of Kenya's presidency, State House, oust the constitutionally elected president of the Republic of Kenya, and cause himself installed as the president. That is the preamble, and that is the first paragraph. Let us go to the last paragraph of that letter, just to be very fast. The last paragraph says that the ministry wishes to encourage all diplomatic missions and all international organizations to monitor police and media sources for any changes to the road closure or any measures that may affect the movement. But this is the gist, that in addition, in line with the importance of holding those responsible for any crimes that may be committed under the guise of protests and ensure no impunity is encouraged, the government urges the international community to be vigilant in supporting the sanctioning of any conduct adverse to the peace and security of the country. So that is William Ruto. In his first paragraph, he says that Raila wanted to go to State House to commit a coup and remove him as the president, then get himself sworn as the president. Then in the last paragraph, he's telling the international community to support him in giving sanctions to Raila Amolo Odinga and the Azimio leadership. Let us go to Raila's response. Just the first paragraph and the last paragraph. The first paragraph reads, "We have noted with dismay an official communication from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to the international and diplomatic missions based in Nairobi. The letter, which can only be described as a screed of naked propaganda attempts to justify the police brutality against peaceful demonstrations on Monday and seeks to paint Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya, as a violent party bent on subversion and chaos. Nothing could be further from the truth. We recognize the latter as a crude attempt by the Kenya Kwanza illegitimate regime to turn the international community against Azimio la Umoja and its current push to hold Mr. William Ruto and his regime accountable. Importantly, Mr. Ruto has panicked upon realizing that the world is very concerned that he recklessly, callously, and brutally misused the police to suppress people and prevent them from exercising their constitutional rights. These crimes for which he bears full responsibility. That is Raila in his first paragraph. Let's go to the last paragraph of Raila's letter. That these are the bitter truths that the letter from Foreign Affairs would rather not address. Instead, it deflects attention from the glaring deficits and misdeeds of Mr. Ruto and his regime. We know the international community based in Nairobi is aware of these sinister and democratic sanctions by Mr. Ruto. Their silence concerns us. We remind them that Azimio is pursuing the ideals of democracy and human rights that many of them purport to hold dear. The people of Kenya are keenly watching how they will respond to Mr. Ruto's unfolding republic of fear. For our part, we will not relent or surrender to an illegitimate regime. As we announced on March 21st, our demonstrations will now take place twice a week on Monday and Thursday until there is change in Kenya. So in his first paragraph, Raila says that the letter that Mr. William Ruto wrote was only meant to hoodwink the international community in the wake of his brutal force against peaceful Kenyans. And they reiterate that William Ruto is just guilty. But they still insist that William Ruto is an illegitimate president. Then in the last paragraph, they say that they have seen the international community being very quiet in the wake of Ruto's brutal power. And they say that they are watching what will happen. But they say they will not relent and they will continue until they get what they want, because what they do is in the constitution and they're fighting for democracy. So ladies and gentlemen, these two letters has put the international community in a dilemma. And I want to submit to you that in the end, Raila Amolo Odinga is going to win this. Because finally, they will be called for a meeting. I'm sure that when Raila continues with the mass action for just 2 days, it will be too much for this regime, and the international community will sit them down. Because if you look at William Samoei Ruto, they urge the international community to declare Raila Amolo Odinga the Azimio supporters persona non grata and to place sanctions against Raila Amolo Odinga. But Raila Amolo Odinga and the Azimio say that whatever they're doing, they will not relent because they're fighting for justice. So in the wake of all this, when they sit down, ladies and gentlemen, the reasons why William Ruto cannot succeed in this is very simple. One, the international media watched as he unleashed police terror on innocent Kenyans. And when they sit down, the evidence will be there. Raila's car, Raila's daughter Winnie's car were smashed. And they say that police threw tear gas in their convoy when they were talking to their people, as is entrenched in the constitution. And they've got that evidence. Raila Amolo Odinga is a former prime minister in this country. Kalonzo Musyoka is a former president in this country. People should be respected. So that means that the international community will have no choice but to support Raila Odinga and the Azimio. What they do is entrench in the Constitution, Article 137, that allows freedom of picketing as long as people are not chaotic. In this sense, it is the police that provoked the common wananchi. Number two, the international community have always manifested themselves as people who uphold democracy and the rule of law. And Raila reminds them in the last paragraph that what we are doing is something that we have always purported, and that's the language that Raila uses, that they have always purported to be supporting democracy. So what we are doing is within our democratic rights. So with this, the international community will be ashamed and they cannot demonize Raila for this, and they will reject William Ruto. The international community also understands that a government must be checked. There must be a strong opposition. In as much as they took away his victory, they want him to, check William Samoei Ruto. I've got a strong feeling that these people have rejected William Ruto. Why? The last time when William Ruto was campaigning, they met freely. The whole of those foreign mission met him in his current home. And I've got a feeling that if he had these grave concerns, he's the president now of Kenya. He would have invited them to State House. He would have invited them for some luncheon and he tells them. But why do you think he has decided to write an official letter? It's because these people are giving him a wild bath. They are not with him. They are taking they are very lukewarm about this, and this is worrying him. These foreigners are also very worried that in the event that they sit on a meeting, Raila will only speak one language, open the server. So what will happen? Because they all know what happened in the servers. They know that if this is opened, they will be ashamed. Raila has always come out in the open and told them, you are the people who are responsible for robbing me of my victory. So when they meet one-on-one, it will be very difficult for them. And the last one, these people have tried before, calling Raila Odinga to go, inviting him to Washington, D.C. This did not succeed. It seems that there's another parallel foreign power that gave Raila his victory. So he knows very well what he got. All these are compounding the complications. And this is why I'm telling you that these people have rejected. On this, William Ruto has shot himself in the foot. There is nothing that these people will do. Even if they sit down to start and debating on this, people like China and Russia and a host of other nations that are supporting Raila will tell them, for us to know the truth, just open the server. So I'm telling you, things are getting thicker. It is very difficult for William Ruto. They have completely rejected him, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what you think, but this is my take.